G'day you mob, welcome to this episode of Pete vs Plants. I'm Pete, these are the plants. Man, we got heaps to do today. We have heaps to do. I'm probably gonna make a whole bunch of videos, but in this one, I'm gonna select out the plants that I'm gonna chuck on eBay this week as auctions. I'll give you a little squeeze at sort of the process I go through. I'll also show you the plants so that if you want to bid on them, hopefully I can get this video up this week, you'll be able to see them in my hand. And yeah, I guess I'll give you a squeeze at all that stuff. So kick the frog and let's get into it. Okay, so this is real life. You are gonna see a mess in my house. Deal with it, okay? I have small children, deal with it. I don't know why I always apologize, but that's just how it is. Anyway, so I have these prop boxes that have plants in them, and I also have another big one inside my plant room. So we're gonna go through these and pull out some stuff and see what we can find. Now the first plant that I have pulled out of the room is actually gonna be this Domesticum Tip Cutting. So I'm gonna chuck this up. This one is absolutely beautiful, really good marbled variegation. So highly stable, I believe. But these guys, they are sort of weird plants. They kind of do just spit out random amounts of variegations. One leaf will look like this, and then a few later you might have completely green, and then all of a sudden you'll have a half moon leaf. So I'm not sure how much the nice variegation on one leaf corresponds to the next, but it seems to be okay. In this cutting, I haven't had any that have reverted. So anyway, long story short, I bought two of these. I have a video up here where I unboxed them. I think I unboxed them with my daughter, so go check that video out. That was a lot of fun. But I grew them out for about, geez, it's probably been 4, 5, maybe even 6 months since I first got these guys, and gave them the chop when they got to probably about 5, 6 leaves each, and propagated all of them. I don't think I've lost a single one so far. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna break my arm jerking myself off, but fortunately, I think I have been able to hold on to all of them. And yeah, so the whole point was to get a whole bunch that I can chuck up on eBay and make available to you guys. So this will be up this week. The tip cutting here, it should just hit the ground running. It's already poked this leaf out. This is hardening off. The next one is here, this spike. So yeah, the good thing is what I normally do, my sort of principles are, when I sell something online, I want it to be actively growing, so to have an active growth point that is shooting out new growth. And I also want to be able to see healthy roots in the soil, because the last thing I want is for a plant that's not shooting out new growth for you guys, so you have to wait for ages for anything to happen, right? If it's just a cutting. And two, I don't want to send you something that doesn't have an established root system or that has root rot. So yeah, my usual modus operandi is to keep an eye on my plants, look for the healthy root growth, look for the new growth up here, and then that's when I'll chuck them up for you guys to purchase. And I haven't had any problems so far. How am I gonna do this? So I'm like, how do I keep my face in the shot, you know, the money maker, and also show you the plants? So I have to choose. I want to try and do 20 plants this week. That'd be pretty cool, right? It'll be a lot of work, but it'll be pretty cool. And so far, I think I sold 11 plants last week, and that's about $600 worth of income through eBay. eBay takes their huge chunk, and again, I'm not sure. I think that's how much I made after eBay took their 14%. But yeah, so I wouldn't mind making over $1,000 a week if possible via eBay. But yeah, anyway, that's my current sort of thinking. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff in here that I have to choose from. I just have to make sure that I don't double up on anything that is already on eBay or has already sold. So I'm just gonna pull some stuff out, and then I'll go through it with you, and I'll sort of, you know, talk about my thoughts, my thinking with regards to why and what and how to do it all. So at the moment, I'm just looking for, again, good root growth and active growth at the top of all of these cuttings, so that, yeah, you guys can hit the ground running when you purchase these plants. And again, it's sort of tough. Do you pick something small to go out? Do you try and get something really large? That one's already been up. That one's already been up. Here's another one. Oof, look at this. Some of these, when you chuck them in prop boxes, the humidity seems to stay so high, And you only have to water them like once every probably 1-2 weeks. And you can already see that all the condensation here, but the roots have been coming out, and you'll see how furry that is. It's because there's obviously moisture on the ground, on the bottom of the box here. So the roots have just kept growing through the hole at the bottom of the cup, and they're just like, you know, let me at it. I want to suck up as much moisture as possible. Whoop. Dropping leca balls. I feel like Kevin from Hakuna La Planta. He always has funny clips when he drops leca. Okay, so I think I'm probably going to try and max out at 2 of each type of plant that I'll be selling. Though again, I'm sort of like learning all of this. You don't want to, you don't want to suddenly put up 50 of one plant because it'll kill the price of those auctions, right? If all of a sudden there is a huge amount of supply but there's no demand, then the price is obviously going to plummet, right? Even tomorrow, if I put out 50 albos online, even though individually they're probably worth, you know, whatever it is, hundreds of dollars, if suddenly there's 50 available and they're auctioned, you're not going to make as much, right? So, and people will get an amazing deal. So there is that, but that's my thought. Okay, so I've got a few in here that, like this one, this is another sort of rule of mine. This one looks like it's completely ghosted out. So what I'll do is I'll let this keep growing and just see what happens, but I'm not going to sell that because I don't want to sell an albo adansonii to someone and have them pay, you know, normal prices and for them to receive it and it not be valid, you know, that's just going to go in the bin. So I have a feeling that's everything out of this box that I'm going to be able to sell. Let's have a look. Does this one have a label on it too? Nope. Oh, we can do this one too. Okay, so how many have we got now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we need another 12. And I like having a good spread of different things. Like it's good to try and have 2, maybe 3 of everything. But if you can have all sorts of different stuff, it just makes it, you know, a little more interesting. So I might move these guys out of the way, just so I don't tip them over. On your bike, guys. Then we have the next box here. I think I may have put all this up. I'll have to actually check whether or not these are up for sale or not, because some of them I have listed as standard prices and other ones I have for auction, so I might have to go check that quickly. Alrighty, so everything in this box I think is currently up online, so I guess we will not take anything out of here. I have to go hunting for some more stuff. I'm not sure if I'll have 20 or not, to be honest. Might have to do some more propagating. Alrighty, so I've selected my plants out and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Looks like we got 20 of them, maybe. Hopefully I counted that correctly. But let's just go through them one by one. And the first thing I'm going to do is label them. So I just need to give them some kind of identifier, obviously, so that I don't have to go through and look at photos and be like, is that the one? And these things grow in the week that you'll have listed them. So, you know, this one will have another leaf on it by the time it actually goes out. So I'm just going to make my life simple and call it A01, right? So the very first one here is a siltepecana, Monstera siltepecana El Salvador. This is the large form. It gets, you know, quite large if you grow it up a pole. Leaves look really good, active growth on it, and some very nice roots on there as well. So I know that it is nice and healthy and will be fine when I send it out. So there you go, that's number A01, boom. Now, am I gonna do these in any particular order? Maybe I try and do the same types multiple times. So we'll call this one A02. And again, sometimes I don't find roots, sometimes I do. I typically try to always find healthy roots, but if I can tell that there's active growth coming out and it hasn't been, you know, overwatered, it should be fine. Nice roots down here, you can see they're growing, and it's another Monstera El Salvador siltepecana with active growth coming out, and you can see it's been in the humidity box because it's got these nice aerial roots activating as well. So there is A02. So we got 2 El Salvadors up this week. We'll go to the next batch. So A03. This is an Epipremnum pinnatum albo. So it's sort of hard to see here on this leaf at least, but it looks like this one's coming out a little paler in color. The mother plant, I have another cutting here. This will be the next one we do. Had much more variegation on it. So this, it should be fine once it comes out, but yeah, this leaf isn't the most insanely variegated leaf though. Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about it. So yeah, A03, nice roots. There's the leaf, and there's active growth coming out as well. So Epipremnum pinnatum albo. A04, we'll do that one. A04. Same thing again, Epipremnum pinnatum albo. It has already started fenestrating with this leaf. You can see all those tiny little holes on the leaf. It's funny when you move them past things in the background, they come through, right? Yeah, interesting. And then new growth coming out as well. New leaf here. You can see there's white on this leaf, which is great. So it's going to be nice and variegated as it grows. They grow quick, and it's marbled variegation on these guys. They're beautiful plants. So there you go, A04. Boom. All right. What's up next? Let's do this guy. So we'll call this guy A05. Now this one's hard to find. I found this kind of relatively difficult to find. If you saw the recent video that Nora from Leca Queen did, I gave her one of these. This is a Philodendron Krasinervium. So these leaves these sort of spear-shaped leaves get really large. It's another vining philodendron, obviously. And yeah, healthy root growth down here. Active growth point here. I chopped this up probably about 2 months ago and had them in water propagating away. So that's why you can see it's a little chlorotic, I think it is. What's the word again? Where it's chlorosis. There's a little bit of chlorophyll death here on this leaf, but that's because it's the original one that I propagated it with. So this will be the first leaf on the new plant to sort of cark it. But there you go, Crassinervium. Yeah. All right. So I think that's the only Krasinervium we'll be doing. We'll do some other singles. This is a Philodendron Ernestei. So these get these really cute sort of, I don't know, what would you say? They get ruffles along the back of the leaves here, the petioles, and they come out kind of like this red color too. It's kind of hard to see on this one, but they're really nice, and they have this pleating on the leaves, and the leaves get absolutely huge. So I got one of these a while back. I think it may have been in that unboxing video I mentioned earlier with my daughter, but I ended up chopping and propping it. So this one is A06, Philodendron Ernestei. So as you can see, active growth. I can't see the roots, but I'm assuming that it has very, very healthy roots because there's no issue here, and it's been growing away for months now after I chopped and propped it. Now the next one, okay, I did a few of these last week and they seem to be pretty popular. This is Monstera El Salvador, esqueleto, right, or Epipremnoides. So they do look quite a lot like adansonii. There is sort of a difference in the way that the leaves come out. But to be honest, if you put these next to one another, I don't think the average person would be able to tell the difference. I just know that this originally came from an esqueleto because I propagated a whole bunch of them, but the leaves shrink down quite a lot, obviously, after you've propagated them and new growth comes out. But this will grow rapidly if you get it going up a pole, and these leaves will size up. And I have a sister plant where the leaves are like this big on it. So yeah, this is Monstera Esqueleto. So it was cool to see these go last week. So A07. This is one of my favorite plants. I absolutely love this plant, especially when you start growing it up a pole and it gets huge. The leaves, it's just like literally like an adansonii on steroids. Okay, another single one. Philodendron Rugosum, or Rugosum, however you want to pronounce it. So this one, I got a few of these out of tissue culture from someone online. So they'd obviously bought it as TC. Just gonna write the number on here. And grown them out. And I got it a while back. And this was one of the pups that came off the side of the plant that I got. And I just had it growing away. So you can see active growth up the middle there. I'm not sure if you can see the little leaf coming out. And again, it's hard to tell if it has decent roots. I'm assuming it does. The plant looks healthy. And these ones are known for their really pig skin. They're called the pig skin philodendron. Kind of leaves. You'll see they're very kind of rough. It's really, really interesting. It's almost ribbed for your pleasure, right? It's very tactile. I don't know. Look at that. You can see it's so bizarre. Anyway, again, these are kind of rare, hard to find, but you can get your hands on them if you look hard enough, and they look insane when they get big, when you grow these up a pole. Again, the leaves get massive and they're just really, really sort of tactile and interesting. So Philodendron Rugosum. What are we up to? Oh, damn, I did 7 again. This one's giving them the same number. This is 8. So this is where I need to start keeping count, or I'm going to get confused and give multiple things the same numbers. Okay, let's do some Monstera albos. So I think this is Monstera adansonii var adansonii. So, actually no. This one's a monkey mask. I think these are both monkey mask actually. Sorry, may have confused myself. Yeah, they're both monkey mask. So I can kind of tell with these guys whether or not they're monkey mask. The sort of trick is they tend to be quite wide, but also what I notice is where the holes are, you'll see the edges of the holes kind of poke up. They kind of come up. I'm not sure if you get what I mean, but you'll see like all the edges around the holes in the leaves, besides the leaf kind of being pretty chunky, they all kind of curl up, the rims of those holes. So that's sort of how I tell. Now, we'll call this one 09, so A09. I can see nice, healthy roots growing away in the soil there. When I first looked at this, I kind of freaked out and was like, oh God, it's reverting. But what gives me hope is the fact that there's a massive amount of white up the back of this leaf, and the next leaf is going to come out and go this way. So it will almost certainly be white. And there are already multiple nodes on this cutting, so it doesn't bother me at all selling this. Even if it did revert, go green or go white in the next few nodes, you'll have a whole bunch there to be able to chop up and propagate and hopefully end up with more than one nice plant. So there you go. This is a Monstera adansonii monkey mask albo. So that is, what did you say? A09. Okay, same thing again. This is A10. So nice root growth again. This one is actually quite established. I should almost keep this one as a mother plant. This one's got nice variegation on it. It should do pretty well. You can see that the new leaves are sort of unraveling here, and there is some really decent new growth. I can see the white variegation on the back of the petiole all the way up to this leaf here. So again, even if this one were to come out completely green, which I'm not sure it will or not because it still hasn't unfurled, you should end up with a decent amount of variegation because of that white on the back of the petiole there. So there you go, that is A10, another monkey mask albo. I'm running out of space. All right, now moving on to Monstera Laniata. I've got 2 of these as well, these albo ones. So we'll call this one A11 and A12. For some reason I picked out 2 smaller ones this week, but yeah, whatever. Good root growth that I can see on the back of both of these guys. It may be harder for you to see, but these guys sort of have finer roots when they're this small. You'll see up the top here, and this one has it down the bottom here. So good root growth. Both are pretty well variegated as well. It's kind of 50-50, and they have new growth coming out, which is also variegated as well. So this one is A12, and this one is A11. Both of these will go up too. Now we have some mint Monstera adansonii laniata as well. It's interesting, this plant, I've propagated this one, and I'll just take a pause to give these guys numbers before I have a brain fart. I think it's A12 we're up to, right? And A13. These guys are interesting. They kind of switch in and out from sectoral variegation like this, which is minty. You can be able to see that mintiness there. So the good thing is, this thing is never going to completely albo out, right? Completely go white. The worst case scenario is you end up with a very white leaf, but it's going to be minty variegation, almost like a ghost to some degree, but it's got these little speckles of green. I love this kind. It's almost like the marble queen for me. So yeah, it sort of bounces through sectoral variegation like this, which I find really appealing. That's probably my favorite type. And then this sort of marbly variegation like this. These are all off the same plant. And last week I saw one which had a leaf that was effectively all mint. So it's really interesting variegation that it kind of bounces around and changes. Again, it's sort of like a marble queen, I think. You'd sort of have that with the what's marble queen? Is that Epipremnum aureum? Yeah, I think it is. Epipremnum aureum. So yeah. Now I'm looking here. I think I can see some decent root growth. It is pushing out really good growth there. And you'll see this next leaf to come out will be completely mint by the looks of it. It looks completely mint. So this one is A13. This one's harder to see. See, this one's, I do worry a little bit when I can't see the roots really, really well, but you know what, we'll just take a chance. It should be okay. A13, growing well, beautiful variegation on it. That one's a little winner. And this one is A12, really good root growth there on the back that you can see. And again, this growth, it's going off like a frog in a sock, right? So yeah, chunky sectoral growth. From afar, it kind of looks like an albo, but as soon as you get it close, you can see that it's minty like that. So I love when it's almost like army fatigues in those different layers of variegation that you can see on there. It's just really cool, really cool. Okay, so that's those two. We're up to A14. All right, so now, actually we'll do this guy, A14. We have a Philodendron hederaceum variegated here. So this is kind of also, it's kind of minty as well. I like these ones, these variegated hederaceums. They're similar to the Marble Queen, but they're a little greener. So this one's absolutely gorgeous. Love this. Again, can I see roots? I pulled it out, yeah. I can see these roots growing down the back here. So that's great. And yeah, it should grow like crazy. It's already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaves and a 7th popping out. So there you go. Philodendron hederaceum variegata A14. All right, we're getting close to the end, guys. Okay, so we've got 2 white knights. Now these already have numbers on them, so I may just leave these numbers as they are. So WK03, this is, yeah, a white knight. You can tell because they have the red variegation on the stem and on the leaves. It's kind of like a dark ruby kind of red color, as well as this white variegation. That's how they sort of differ from white princesses and white wizards. White wizards have none of the red, and white princesses typically have it just on the stem, and it's a lighter pink color, and you can't sort of see it as much on the leaves, right? You can see the tip of this leaf is this ruby kind of color. So there is white knight WK03. This one again has root growth. Do we have it in here? It's harder to tell with this one. It should be okay. Yeah, I can see a little bit here. Root growth down the side, down the bottom here, but it's kind of got a bit of mycorrhizal fungus and algae in here, which tends to happen. That's WK03. And then we have WK07. So this one has spat out this stunning white leaf here. It's probably going to get blown out by the light behind me with a bit of variegation on the bum of the leaf. That is a technical term. And it also has sort of speckled variegation, the white variegation over these other leaves as well. Do we have some nice root growth in there? I can see some roots growing, yep, along the side here. So that's good to see. Maybe again harder for you guys to tell because of all the browns and greens in there. But that one's going well too. So WK07, white knight. And the good thing about these guys being so small, I got these in tissue culture and have been growing them out for the last few months, is that it's an easy way of getting your foot in the door if you consider the larger plants a little more expensive. So something like this, you know, I don't expect these to go for more than 30, 35 bucks. I guess we'll see. But yeah, easy way to get a nice plant that will be absolutely beautiful when you get it large. Okay, so these ones also have numbers. These are white wizards. So as you'll see, this one has absolutely stunning marbled, kind of like sectoral marbled variegation on it. I was holding on to this one, but we're going to get rid of it because I've got a few white wizards, but yeah, this one's absolutely beautiful. And it is WW10, white wizard 10, and you can see the root growth in here is really good as well. You can see it on the back there. So that's WW10. And then we have WW5. This one's interesting. I was like kind of freaking out a little bit thinking, oh, maybe it's going to just revert and go completely green, but then it just spat out this absolutely stunning, fully white leaf. Like, what the hell? So I'm still sort of learning about the variegation on these guys and how it works. There is sort of chunks of white variegation on these bottom leaves here. Then it's had a few of these sort of mostly green leaves, almost 100% green. There's a little variegation on there too. But then it's spat out this beautiful white leaf. So it's very interesting. So that's the other white wizard, WW05. And again, nice root growth in there. Hopefully you can see it under here. Nice healthy plant. Now, lastly, guys, I was sort of debating, do I do this or not? Do I sell these guys or not? But YOLO. So I've got here 2 Domesticum, variegated Domesticums that I'm going to chuck up as well. This one is the tip cutting. I think, did we already talk about, we talked about this, right? So I'm going to chuck, God, what were we up to? I can't even remember. Maybe we go backwards from, we'll just call it A20. There we go. I know that there wasn't an A20 yet. Make my life easy. So we'll call this one A20. Boom. Looks like we've got some nice root growth here, beautiful variegation, new growth coming out, growth point here, and it's already doing cataphilic growth, right? So it's going to mature very, very quickly when you chuck this on a pole. You should get very large leaves. Off this guy fast, beautiful variegation too. Should be pretty stable. So there's that one. And then lastly, I think, was this a tip cutting as well? Not 100% sure if this was a tip cutting or not. But this is, either way, it's got significant leaf size coming out of the new growth. And same thing, Philodendron Domesticum variegated, absolutely stunning variegation on this guy, and some beautiful root growth as well. So he, she, it, they should be very, very, very healthy when you get it, and it should go off like a frog in a sock if you chuck it on a moss pole. So yeah, I guess that's everything, guys. So the next step is to kind of make everything look nice and then take some photos and get them up on eBay. I think this has probably gone long enough, and to be honest, the taking photos and chucking them up on eBay is pretty easy. I guess to cover the things that I'll usually do is obviously take multiple photos, try and have the roots in the photo as well if there are roots to be shown. Show the multiple aspects, sides of the plant, the variegation, and then I'll also usually have a mother or sister plant or an example plant of what to expect when it's much larger, right? Because it's always good to have a better idea of, okay, I'm getting this plant, it looks like this small, it's kind of maybe in its juvenile state, but what is it going to look like when it gets large? Lastly, I usually put a reserve of about what the plant cost me. So again, sometimes I sort of semi-pull these numbers out of my bum. Like it's hard to know if I've taken a cutting off a plant that I bought a year and a half ago, I've rooted it, I've chucked it into soil, I've got it ready to go online, I've done all the labor there, what's it worth, right? But I'll usually just chuck in something that just makes it worth my time, putting it in a box, sending it off, all that sort of stuff. So, $20, $30, $40, depending on what it is, hopefully less than what it should go for. And then you guys obviously determine how much you want to pay for it above that. But I try and keep it as fair as possible with these sorts of things. Alrighty guys, I've just photographed all of this week's eBay plants and I chuck them in a box like this and I just kind of leave them here to keep getting a decent amount of light, to stay humid, to stay moist, to keep growing and be ready to send out in a week's time. Anyway guys, the listings are now all up on eBay and scheduled. It's taken me about an hour and a half to take all the photos and then upload everything with all of the information and setting the time. So they'll start on a Tuesday, they'll go for 5 days and then end on Sunday at varying times. I also sort of offset all of the ending times by a few minutes because sometimes people want more than one thing, and if you have them all end at exactly the same time, it can be hard for the bidder to be able to win multiple things because it's hard to have that many browser tabs open. Anyway, that's how it's done, and now I just look forward to watching them all go live tomorrow. If you have any questions, leave them in a comment below. You can also message me on eBay. And I guess that's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got a lot out of it, and I'll see you next time. And check out this video. See ya.